Jagannathan, you go ahead and introduce yourself. I believe Michael's mic is not working today.
Okay, sure. Good afternoon to all of you. It's a pleasure being part of this event. And I'm Jagannathan, and I'm based out of Dubai. And I have been in this industry for over 25 years, predominantly in the built environment and sustainability. I started my career in India in Blue Star and then moved on to Gulf. I was heading the sustainability department at a government authority in Dubai for over 13 years, where I was responsible for drafting green building policies and as well as developing the regulatory infrastructure for the implementation and monitoring as well. So from then, I moved to a leading real estate developer in Dubai and taking my profile beyond green buildings and sustainability to the wider climate reporting, where I was heading the sustainability department, driving climate action, which moves beyond certification to various strategic reports in the field of climate action, such as environmental social governance report, GRESP disclosure, greenhouse gas assessment report, decarbonization strategies, and establishing a net zero pathway for overall for the entire organization. So that's a brief introduction, and I'm looking forward to having a discussion where I'll be sharing the expertise, providing a very high-level information of what exactly drives the net zero in various sectors, and specifically the built environment sector. Thank you, and have a good day.
Thank you very much, and welcome, Jagannathan ji. Of course, there will be an introduction before your speech starts as well, the keynote, which I will be doing. Meanwhile, let me go to Michael once again, if he is able to speak. I don't know. His mic is not working today. No, it's not working. Let's go to Vinay. You have to log out, Michael, and log in. That's the ideal way. You know the drill. Yeah. Vinay, if you can.
Hi, everyone. So thanks for hosting this, Viveck, in the first place. I think it's a pleasure to, have a discussion, on the ESG always. So I am Vinay, and I would rather put it short because, however, you said you'll be giving a note about the speaker. So I thought I'll just put it a crisp. So I am working as a sustainable ESG manager for a PMC for Pan India projects, and I carry 11 plus years of experience in the field of engineering and sustainability. So my background comes, with a undergraduation in building services in engineering, and then post graduation in building science. And I am also an alumni from IIMK on management in social initiatives. So this being my educational background, my work experience carries a blend of experience with the engineering services and the sustainability, and a bit of social impact works there. So that's where I'm currently heading a ESG manager position. So yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Viveck, you're on mute.
Yes, thanks, Vinay. I really appreciate that. And today we are starting this session, obviously, on the backdrop of a lot many things in climate science, which is happening, including this year, rainfall is shorter by 40% in last 50 years, right? That's the precipitation count which we have last. However, in July, precipitation has picked up, and we are seeing a major development happening on that front. 15% deficit is still there. And that is happening because of El Nino and La Nina. And that's one of the things which climate change is accelerating and making it so volatile that we can't imagine what will be tomorrow looks like. Now, of course, we have a challenge with Michael's mic. What we will do is quickly, I think the sequence would be, Jagannathan, you will be going with the first, right, with your slides. And I will be doing the introduction before that. And so today, good evening, everyone. A very warm welcome to FutureScape India Dialogue. And today we are not here to discuss buildings. We are here to discuss future of India. Because every road we build, every office we are creating, every airport, recently we have constructed 2 of those, one in Guwahati, beautiful, sustainable and one where I live in Bangalore, which is also beautiful and sustainable too. Hospitals, residential community. We have 2 net zero buildings in Bangalore. Complete society, and is making that decision that will last for 50 to 100 years is what we are going to discuss today. And the question is, will those decisions will help India to become climate leader when we will be developed nation, and that is year 2047, or will they become part of climate problem? That's the discussion I have with my STEAM panel talking about. There are some statistics. Let me give you a quick lead to those, and then we will be bringing our first speaker, Jagannathan Ramaswamy, joining us from Dubai this time. I think for him, it will be 2:30, just right after his lunch. So my point here is, when India will celebrate its 100 years of independence, our country will become home to one of the world's largest urban population. We will be building and infrastructure and buildings in those in urban infrastructure, not in the way we are doing it today. If we keep doing what we are doing today, at the time when urban population is highest at the peak, we won't be able to survive. And that is why the built environment will play a definitive role in whether we achieve our net zero ambitions of 2070 or even develop India vision, which is 2047, or will be we exceeding our carbon budget. The next 20 years are not just another construction cycle. Isn't it, Vinay? Isn't it, Jagannath and Michael, if you are able to join us back? They are most important construction cycle in India of history today is next 20 years. Because once building is built, it locks energy consumption, its water demand, its carbon footprint, the emissions we are talking about, and its operational cost for decades altogether, right? And the decision we make today cannot be easily undone tomorrow. And that is why I have invited my team members from industries. And here is the exciting part before we go to them. The green building are no longer just about installing solar panels or reducing electricity bills, but today they are strategic business asset. They reduce operating costs, they lower carbon emissions, they improve water efficiency. And these buildings, which we are building through infrastructure, all residential, commercial construction, they integrate AI and smart technology. They attract ESG focused investors with premium tenants as well. And that's the cycle I'm talking about. And they create here and after more resilient communities, which we are looking after, isn't it? Now, ladies and gentlemen, welcome FutureScape India Dialogue. And let me invite our first speaker, Jagannathan Ramaswamy ji. Please go ahead. And if you can
Hello,
share.
Viveck. Are you going to share my screen, Viveck?
Okay, you want me to share? I can. Just give me another
That
2
will be
minutes.
better.
Okay.
Sure.
Yeah.
So thank you
You
so
start.
much, Viveck, for the excellent introduction. You put together a very complete view on the climate action, and you brought into you gave a highlight of how the things that are shaping now is going to eventually make India resilient and future-proof by 2047. So to take your point from there, let me start with the overall high level view. And see, the entire climate change is boiling down to few numbers, right? When you say global warming, we are directly relating to greenhouse gas emission. And greenhouse gas emissions are increasing at a steady rate all across. And the only time where there was a slight blip was during COVID, a very small amount. And as soon as the lockdown ended, it started coming back with a vengeance, and it's somewhere close, probably 38, 39, or 40 gigatons. Now, these emissions are a sum total of various sectors: power sector, transportation, industry, shipping, aviation. So you name it, all sectors are all adding contribution or adding emissions. And the point how where buildings or the built environment gains significance is the fact that built environment put together in terms of materials, operations, and all put together, they are responsible for over a third of emissions. So If it is 40, you can say that it's about 13 gigatons are attributed to built environment alone. And for people who are there in the discussions today, if you have to really set, you hold accountability and responsibility for a third of global emissions, and that is a sort of with that as a punchline. I'd like to probably start with my brief presentation, where I'm going to start with green buildings, and probably you can go to the next year, and then have a high level discussion on what are the principles and strategies. Then we move to climate change, how exactly these two are interrelated, and on which I already gave a brief discussion, because I could not stop it when Viveck brought the entire picture of climate change and the built environment to that. So I wanted to give that in the beginning. And now, what is the current trend? The current trend is no longer just sustainability reporting, but how you articulate sustainability through standard climate reports. There are several reports. And finally, what is, in my humble opinion, the way to go forward for professionals and in this field? Yeah, next one, Viveck, if you don't mind. So, what exactly is a green building? Obviously, it is not the green color, but when a green building is one that has strong environmental attributes. So when I say environmental attribute, let me talk about the E or energy part. It is supposed to have the environmental attribute compared to any other building or business as usual building. What makes a green building special? It has to be special in terms of energy, lower energy consumption, lower water consumption, better indoor air quality, lower embodied carbon. So all these are put together, enhanced waste management. These are the various parameters which collected together make a building green or environmental friendly building or a sustainable building. And a green building, this is something very important. A sustainable building or green building should eventually make the bottom line more attractive. Otherwise, it is not worth, it will not be sustainable. So to the owner, it should be the best operating cost. To the investor, it should be return on investment. To an end user, it should be beneficial to him in terms of lesser utility, in terms of lesser better indoor air quality, etc. And to the environment, it should be beneficial because the energy, water, materials, waste management, all put together is going to reduce the net embodied carbon or emissions associated with the building at the design, construction, operation. So these are the high level points that make a building truly green, truly performing. Now, when it comes to principles and strategies, green building, these principles and strategies are applicable in the entire phase of the building, starting from the time you put the concept drawing, to the design, to construction, to operation, finally to demolition as well. So when these principles are applied across the phases, the strategies depend on the phase of the building. Let's take an example of design. When we do design, we have the key points of having the lowest environmental footprint of energy, water, waste, air quality, and circularity, all that remain across. How you address those at different phases of the building decides the strategy, or the strategies strategies depend on the phase of the building. Let's take the design phase. So initially, you would start with the passive design to work around the design the building in such a manner that the net energy demand, the net water demand, the net waste generation, the net embodied carbon of the building is the lowest. So you do the shading analysis, you do the sun path analysis, you do the orientation, you do the fenestration, you do the high or materials with the good thermal properties such as glazing or wall, all put together. You make sure that the built environment is going to consume the lowest resource. That is the first point the green building consultants or designers look at, the passive design. When it comes to active design, based on the output of the passive design, you make sure that the systems, the components, the products are all chosen and designed in order to reduce or to ensure that they consume the least energy for the least demand. So that is synchronizing. So demand and the selection should be synchronized. That goes to HVAC, the real guzzler. So high side, low side. Then you have the pumping system. You have the elevators. You have the lighting. You have the fire protection. All the dynamics, all chosen in such a way that the buildings are consuming the lowest resources. These are what we discussed now is purely on the design part. In the construction, there's a complete different challenge. Although you are following the design one-to-one into the construction, you look for the materials with the lowest embodied carbon. Say you go for green steel, you go for green concrete. Concrete alone, if you have to construct concrete as a country, it is the fourth largest energy consuming country in the world. So you leave America, you leave China, you leave perhaps India. So the fourth, if the concrete is a country, that's the fourth largest emitter, fourth largest. So these are very heavy duty items that you have to address during construction. Waste management, construction waste management. Instead of putting them to landfill, you recycle them, reuse them. That way you drive the circular economy. And green fuel, instead of burning diesel and emitting so much emissions, you go for biodiesel, you go for site electrification. These are things that you do with the construction phase. Moving to operation. Operation is a very crucial element, because if the building does not perform, then it is as good as a very normal building. The best of the designs and the best of the construction practices should not, if it ends up with a poor performing building, that doesn't justify the efforts at all. Operation depends on proper data governance, and then the energy management systems and the regular maintenance of those. So these are all phases are part of the green building strategies. Now, how do you define a green building, or what are the metrics you follow for the green building? It's energy usage intensity. How much total energy the building consumes per square meter over a year. The normal is X. This is 0.8X. Is 20% higher. Same is a water usage, net water consumption per person. Then you have the green energy, renewable energy, or adding any renewable energy to that. Embodied carbon. So what is the embodied carbon? It is 425 kg per square meter of the built up area, or it is 600. So 600 is obviously we are not done well with the choice of materials. So all these metrics are core points to design that governs a building, because these are the metrics that eventually related to emissions. These emissions relate to climate change. And finally, with all this being done, you can go for certification, which are different types of certification. Maybe in India, you have the IGBC and Griha. LEED is a very popular one. BREEAM, Green Mark in Singapore, Green Star in Australia, CASB in Japan. So different countries have their own rating systems based on certain things that are unique to them. But in total, or in summary, all these systems are having their alignment in one way or the other towards these environmental metrics. It may be heating energy, it may be cooling energy, it may be waste management, it may be embodied carbon, life cycle analysis, or energy modeling. Yeah. So now we'll go to climate change. Now, I think this particular, just the previous one, Viveck. So this topic, I started with this topic because we talk of climate change. When we talk of climate change, we talk of emissions. The emissions are increasing year after year after year. What are the various sectors doing to reduce the emissions? The power sector would be having its own strategy of renewable energy, battery, BESS, and then having the green hydrogen, things like that. Transportation have their own strategies working on. Some of them are up and running, some of them are in research and development and demonstration before coming to deployment. When it comes to built environment, there are some areas where we have good control, energy design, operation. There are some areas where we do not have full control, like decarbonization of cement, steel. It is just going on. So to whatever extent it is possible, practical, we should not let go of the opportunity. We should explore. That's the key message out of this this particular section of the slide. We do not have to. Obviously we cannot look for green hydrogen or unlimited solar energy in a building or where the plot is limited and the footprint is limited. So it is we have to use expertise to explore all possible strategies and technologies that make practical sense to the building, keeping in view that it should be adding in some way or the other to the benefit of the stakeholder, financial, health, or emissions. Yeah, we can go to the next one. Yeah. Now, climate reporting. So, some of you might be from the built environment, some of you might be from the asset managers, or a company holding a lot of buildings, or a company having building as one of your portfolios. At the end of the day, climate reporting is something which is the other name for sustainability reporting, or earlier what we call as sustainable reporting or corporate social responsibility reporting, have taken a much significant role, keeping climate change as a core or a focal point. So when you say climate reporting, you're going to report on how climate change impacts your organization, and what are you doing to address it, as well as understand the impact of your operations on the environment. The report that explains exactly this is called climate report. There are different types of reports. So the environmental, social, and governance report is one, where you are talking of all the environmental strategies that you have in mind, what strategies you are going to place, you are going to achieve over a period of time, and the reports over a period of time would show how you have achieved on those strategies and what are your plans. It is to the persons who are interested in these reports are the stakeholders. It might be public, it might be NGOs, it might be banks, it might be financial institutions, it may be government. So if an asset manager is applying for if a developer is looking for an investment from a bank, so these are the following questions the bank asks now, the current days. Is your company ESG compliant? Have you published reports? If so, how many reports? Do you have buildings with green building certification? If so, which type of certification? Do you have renewable energy as a part of your green building strategy? Do you have a comprehensive greenhouse gas emissions in your portfolio? If so, does it include scope 1, scope 2, or scope 3? Do you have a net zero pathway? Do you have decarbonization target? Have you disclosed your ESG to GRESB or benchmarking? Do you have ESG rating? So at the moment, the banks have started asking these questions. They may not know the exact answers or depth of knowledge in that, but they have started that. And this is a tick box exercise that they use to make sure that their money is safe. They would rather park a few crores of rupee on a company that has the ESG credentials than those in which they do not have those points, because they are also bound by law to make sure that their financed emissions or that investment is sustainable. So that's a simple question. Whether you like it or not, you have to get through the stage of climate reporting in one way or the other. So as the point mentioned, it is ESG, GHG, TCFD, SASP. These are all certain acronyms for various ESG reports. These are the frameworks. And it is again sector agnostic. Built environment, it is applicable across to banks, to FMCGs, to transportation, power. Every company should go for ESG reporting. And if you are going to be a part of the report, if you are well informed about the core principles, your report will be much more valuable than a report which is just a design of certain points that does not make sense. And finally, the message forward. So we started with the green buildings as a strategy, and the climate change, and the upper and the overall strategic point of reporting. How you understand the green buildings, and then how you take it back to formal reporting, where you report to the stakeholders what you are doing in relation to your sustainability through your core business of buildings. And going to the last slide, in the current stage, it is important to have our perspective widened and then seek knowledge. Knowledge is power, and which is becoming more critical in the current days. Just a previous slide, Viveck. it is becoming more prevalent because it is changing a lot and we have to go fast along with that. And adding to that, the AI is making it more complex as well. So try to keep your fingers on the pulse of what is happening in the market in the field of climate change and climate leadership. And when it comes to buildings, please give importance to operations as well. Green building, certified building should be a performing building. Otherwise, certified building does not make sense. So, and if you're owners of the properties, if you're owners or the developers, you should make sure that you give the right project requirement to the consultants. If you do not clearly specify what you want, they would give what they have. So that's a fundamental. Even if anyone would do the same question, anyone in that position would do the same thing. And obviously we will not know everything. Make sure that you engage the right experts who would add genuine value and be truthful to your company's requirements. And once you do that, then start reporting in a slow and systematic manner. Have the emissions, scope 1, scope 2 first, and then scope 3. Of course, these are technical ones, but you'll eventually commit to that once you start the reporting journey. Have a clear-cut net zero transmission emission reduction pathway for your operations, and slowly achieve that. Publish that in the next report. Your report will be very credible, and it will be well respected. So these are the small few points that I wanted to convey to you. And again, thanks to Viveck for this event, which I'm sure is going to put the basis for several more strategic actions in the field of climate action. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Jagannathan, and thanks to you. What a clear pathway you have shown to people on specifically how to pursue their green building targets or green infrastructure development. Awesome job. We will be coming back to you with questions as well very soon. But let me now quickly introduce. Let me stop sharing the screens. And team, can you share the screen? And let me introduce to you Jagannathan ji. If you can keep your camera on, quick introduction to Jagannathan ji, which I have missed to do. Of course, he has introduced himself. So it is my privilege to introduce to you all Dr. P.R. Jagannathan, one of the accomplished sustainability leader in the built environment. With more than 25 years of experience in India as well as abroad, specifically in Middle East, Dr. Jagannathan has successfully integrated ESG, climate action, net zero strategy into some of the Middle East largest real estate projects today. As a former Chief Sustainability Officer at Sobha Realty, he helped elevating company into GRESB ratings from 72 to 97, which is one of the quite achievement, we must say that. And they have secured, of course, green financing to the tune of $1 billion, means nearly $750 million, and led delivery global certification program. So now he is known for his lead edge green mark and fit well across portfolio exceeding 5 million square meters. And earlier he has also served with head of sustainability in government of Dubai, Tarakis, and contributing to major sustainability initiatives. So we are privileged to have him here today. Thank you very much. And he is also part of our team. So whenever we take any infrastructure-based assignment in India, you will be always seeing him and meeting him. So thank you very much,
thank you.
Dr.
Pleasure.
For being here.
Pleasure.
Now, let me introduce to, I can't see the screen. The others, did you share the screen?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So let's go to get introduced with Vinay. Vinay Mandaloju is joining us. He's our next distinguished speaker. Vinay, if you can start your camera, I can see you. Yes. And he's accomplished in sustainability and ESG professional, over 10 years plus experience, advancing sustainable development across India and Middle East as well. Vinay has worked extensively in ESG strategy, climate action, green building, carbon management, and life cycle assessment, specifically in environmental management system and sustainable project development and delivery. He's passionate about integrating all this sustainability concept into built environment and transforming the ESG principle into measurable business outcomes. Academically, he holds a master's degree in architecture and building science and executive program with management of social initiative IIM Kozhikode. Now, his expertise further strengthened now, by globally recognized credential in lead green associate. So he is a GA and ISO 14001 EMS lead auditor, construction LCA specialist, and you name it. So beyond industry practice today, Vinay is taking us through the journey of green buildings from his existing, offices, wherever he's working from. And looking forward to hearing more from you, Vinay, going forward. So floor is yours. Go ahead.
Sure.
You can share your
Thank
screen if you can.
Yeah, Vivek, I appreciate if your team could help me in assisting the slides.
Okay.
Would
So
that
can you send the
be
slides
possible?
once more? Just send it once more and somebody will pick it up immediately.
Okay, fine, I can do that. Just a minute, please.
Let me invite Michael. Michael, is your mic is working now, or still we have to wait for it? What's the situation?
I think it's working now.
Awesome, 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 awesome. Or Vinay, if you can start. Yes, we have received it. Somebody will immediately share. Let me share. You can start the session if you wish.
Yeah, sure. Thanks for the introduction, Vivek, and I think thanks for setting the context also, because I think you started off setting the context with a really great points where you were mentioning about the El Nino and La Nina effect and the recent weather changes that we are visibly seeing around us. And also I think that's a great introduction to the green building concepts by Jagannathan also. I think I would rather touch upon the holistic approach of projects and their strategy towards climate change. If you could just give me a moment, please, I'll be back momentarily. Just a minute. Yeah, sorry about that. Thanks for the slides, Vivek. So as I was mentioning, so I'd rather touch upon more on the strategic, end of our discussions, because I see that our today's current themes are pretty much about how we address these climate change aspects, right? I see the topics like future of green buildings in India. I think the future is already here. We are pretty much working on green buildings. Name any major projects in India, moderate to high scale projects. Every project is going with the some of the other certification that we have with respect to green building. So I think we are very much prepared. Even the market, Indian market, is pretty much aligned to provide us and cater to the to the real estate needs in providing the green buildings to us. And I think I see another topic as ESG and climate resilience infrastructure. So I think this should basically be a very good or an interesting topic, because ESG and climate resilient infrastructure when we hear something about climate resilient infrastructure and ESG, I feel most of our construction practices, which are find these two terms fitting together a little contradictory, because everybody looks at a climate resilient a resilient infrastructure, but then when we are considering the climate factor, that's when we sort of tend to ignore the social and governance aspects there. So I think now it is very much time that we align to all these verticals of E and S and G, in the in today's time, right? Just to pick my discussion, I would like to quote a recent event, recent experience that we have experienced as in India. Almost 97 cities, world's top 97 cities, we have been marked as a hottest cities in the world, right? Topping the chart from 1 to 97. So all of them are from India, and this is from the very recent times, that is in May 2026, right? Now imagine how much of a hit India is taking in terms of climate change. um, uh, you know if you look at that particular data, the temperature is somewhere between 42 to 48 degrees Celsius, right? So all these cities went through that heat wave, an extensive hit uh, on the urban infrastructure and urban economy, because as days go, days heat up, it passively affects the economy also, infrastructure and economy, right? So we'll be discussing more in detail about this. So as I navigate through my slides, I would like to give you a perspective on how these ESG, imbibing this ESG into our infrastructure and daily life would make a difference, right? So uh, just to give you an idea here, as you can look at my first slide, we have the projects that are that are aligned to ESG will have certain attributes, right? For example, when you're looking at environmental sustainability, we significantly look at the carbon, water, material and energy, as the significant or key attributes to address the environmental aspect in the buildings. Now to enhance this, right, so we already have few guidelines in place. Let's say, for example, in India, we follow IGBC. As Jagannathan was mentioning, there are a lot of such guidelines which are provided by different countries and different agencies, with respect to which are region specific. And in India, we have similar guidelines like IGBC, Griha, Edge, and we also have adopted ECBC, which is again from Bureau of Energy Efficiency, as a norm again, right? So all these guidelines will help us in addressing these environmental issues. So whenever we are adopting these guidelines, that means we are directly addressing these issues. But however, currently we are still working on these infrastructure projects, uh, through a compliance perspective. That means we take up a guideline and we ensure that you have to comply with these guidelines. We have to ensure that we comply with these guidelines so that we get this status, so we get this ranking, right? So that's been our approach. But then what is the need here is that we should have a shift from the compliance approach to a measurable approach. A measurable approach from the whole life cycle project perspective, right? So whenever you're delivering a project, your approach should be whole life cycle project delivery. Okay, that's where the impact comes into the picture. So now this shift will require a lot of efforts in terms of how you strategize your projects, to align it to a climate resilient and ESG resilient projects. So that's where the challenge is. Now if you look at the if you look at the other verticals, in the previous slide, as you can see, the governance and then social part. Can we go to the previous slide, please? So the governance and then social part. Most of our projects, infrastructure projects, even today lack the integration of governance and social responsibilities. Just to give you an understanding there, when we are talking about social responsibility, what does it mean? See, the construction projects, the infrastructure projects, has a great thread of supply chain management, right? Because you have a owner, you have a management team, you have an engineering team, you have a vendor, you have a contractors, you have subcontractors, and you have suppliers. So it's a very large chain, right? Wherein the procurement and then supply comes in. So now here it is very important that you address the social aspect of it. Now, what is social aspect in here? When you're looking at the well-being of your employees, when you're looking at the transparency in your supply chain, when you're looking at the very ethical practices of the entire processes that are involved in this supply chain, right? How you conduct your operations, which would not impact the human or the social environment around your project. So that's where the social responsibility comes in, right? So as you can see in the slide, there are few initiatives such as environmental justice data fund, for the community engagement and all these things, which are broadly followed in the western part of the world. But then in India, we see a very few such projects which take up such responsibilities and which bring in such guidelines into our country and then follow them. But then we, as an India, as a country, we too need to have such frameworks which can help projects to follow such guidelines, which can help in framing a better supply chain management, with better vendor engagement, better collaboration, who takes the responsibility of their employees, who takes the responsibility of their operations and conduct their operations in an ethical manner, right? So that's when the social aspect will be retained, right? When it comes to governance, whatever we do in our projects, right, we have to be transparent. Everything need to be documented. Everything need to have a proper evidence based backing system when you are giving out a data to someone, right? So that is important. So unfortunately, that is something, again, is a challenge in our current market, because no matter whoever we collaborate with, we have, as I said, we have multiple stakeholders, multiple vendors, and if you look at the current way of documenting things, it is so disheartening to see that most of the stakeholders still follow the receipts in when you're documenting things, right? They still follow a slips, they still follow a register to write things down, and it is very disheartening to see by the end of the day they lose most of the data, right? So until and unless you have a digitalized and a very backed document, a strong documentation done for your operations, right, you will not be able to provide that data. And this way of working is very bad, and it will affect the structure, the entire structure, the entire ecosystem of the construction industry, right? Because until unless you provide a good data, you'll not be able to develop frameworks, you'll not be able to develop policies, right? So that is something which is important in order to bring everything in order and organized manner, right? So that's pretty much about what are the challenges that we see, in order to cater to the ESG and then climate resilient infrastructure, right? So if you can move to the next slide, please. I have a few, guidelines that we have, right? As Jagannathan was mentioning, we have different type of rating systems, and how we integrate things into our, green building, from the energy, water, resources, material, and all these, from all these point of view, and how they help in converting a project into a green building. So I would pretty much like to take the same set of discussion here and then show you a mapping, so that we understand, if we follow all of these, how much of ESG aspects we are able to address, right? So this slide is more of a mapping that I've tried to show in each vertical, right? So if you're looking at environment, if you're looking at social, if you're looking at governance, what are those attributes that will help us really move towards a ESG compliant infrastructure, right? So when you're looking at environment, greenhouse gases, and then mineral extraction, and water consumption, materials, resource efficiency, recycling, waste management practices, all these are very important and then vital parameters in the infrastructure segment. So addressing these is a paramount, when you're wanting to achieve that sustainable status for your project, right? So for these to for these to happen, you need to have a certain strategy in place. Now, what is the strategy? A is obviously you can follow certain guidelines, which are prescribed by LEED or IGBC or any other rating system. And another one is you try to understand what is happening with the project. So as we've already been discussing that, the best way of integrating the ESG aligned projects is to begin with the design phase, right? So during the concept stage itself, you try to bring in all these concepts. Uh, so for you, in order to assess what is happening with the design, you have to conduct a life cycle assessment, right? Now, what is this life cycle assessment? You try to understand from all the design based reports that you have in place, what all materials are going in, what are the resources that are going to be consumed here, and then how much of the impact that is going to be created. Everything will be studied in the LCA. And once you study this, you will have certain parameters pertaining to environment, on what is your carbon footprint level, and what are the environmental effect impacts that you are creating because out of your operations, be it eutrophication, acidification, all these. And that will give you an understanding on what is the current status, and what could you further do to reduce this environmental impact, right? So there you can form a baseline, and then you can sort of give a goal, or give certain statistics there to set up a goal, and to reduce all overall environmental impact by strategizing your entire operations or the project that way, right? So that is where the material procurement comes in, job site emissions comes in. So once you are done with this study, you try to strategize your entire material procurement process. you sort of embed your optimized or green materials into your procurement process, as Jagannathan was mentioning, green steel, green cement, low carbon materials, and then environmental friendly materials, everything. And then also during the construction process, try to minimize and mitigate the job site emissions. So that's how you address the environmental aspect. Now when you're coming to social, what all you could do in social, as I was mentioning, diversity and then social inclusion is very important. Well-being of your employees are very important, right? Community engagement is very important, right? So to ensure all this, again we have different set of guidelines, right? So you bring in those guidelines again. But then again, especially in infrastructure projects, there's something called as BIM, that is called building information modeling. Now you can make use of building information modeling and then design entire project in BIM first, understand what is happening with it, right? Understand how you are impacting your social attributes through your design, right? You can have a walkthrough of it, you can have a rendering of it, so that you enhance the the ecosystem around it, so that you address the diversity factor, social factor, and then you also engage in the ethical sourcing practices, right? So these are certain attributes that you can bring in the social verticals during your strategization. And coming to governance, again, as I said, transparency of data is important. Through BIM model itself, you can bring in this transparency into your project, because your project is right in front of your eyes in a virtual model. All you would need is bring in, export the data from it. It will give you everything. It will give you the quantity of material that you are bringing in, the amount of money that is flowing into your project, the amount of impact that you are creating in your on the community, and the amount of stakeholders that you have with you, the vendors, everything, right? So that itself will form a strong advocacy for your governance for the project. And so this is how you try to map and then bring your projects operations into alignment with ESG. And as you can see in the slide, we have a framework which will help us in doing all these works, right? So A is, I would rather say, I'll just give you three important steps wherein you can follow, and then try to align your projects in such a way that you have good amount of proportion of ESG parameters covered, right? A is, you first try to understand what is happening in the current sector, right? In India, you have certain standards. For example, if you are looking at carbon emission and footprint, for commercial projects, the Indian benchmark is somewhere around 700 kgs of CO2 per square meter, right? Now that is your benchmark. Okay, now you know what is happening in India, right? Now then you identify the gaps. Now what are the gaps? You do all your exercise in terms of designing the project, developing your entire strategy, then identify the project. Are you able to reach that standard? If not, then what are the gaps, right? Now to address the gaps, what are the current practices and what are the changes that are needed? Okay, that's when you will be able to fill in all the holes or loops, and then you will be able to push the beyond the boundary, beyond the very a cliche system that we are working in, right? And that's when the market also will be prepared. You ask for something the market doesn't have, then you ask, and again the market will be prepared. Okay, so that's when you bring in a ESG aligned market also into our society. So I think I've taken a lot of time. If given a chance, I would like to give more information about it. But I'm in the interest of time, I would like to stop here. But I'm really happy to take if there are any questions from your side, Vivek, or any others. So just to conclude, all I would say is we shouldn't be working in a fashion to cater to a compliance certification model. We should rather make a shift and then work towards a whole life cycle project model wherein the project life cycle should be measurable and then impactful. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Vijay. Let me congratulate everyone. Let me congratulate Vijay. Thank you very much for guiding us through that journey on how to cover all the E, S, and G part in the building construction. Now, this is your chance, everyone. Please go ahead and ask the distinguished speaker your most pressing question. Meanwhile, you can type that in the chat box or in your YouTube chat box. Many people are watching us there as well, so you can ask questions there, right? Starting with Rajeshri, I'm coming to question and answer. Let me have the final speaker of the day. Let me invite him, and then we will be definitely taking the questions right away. So can my support team put speaker Michael on the screen? Michael, okay, we can see you now. Our first distinguished speaker, Engineer Michael Katz. Now he's speaking at the last, an internationally respected green building and sustainability expert with 35 years of global leadership. He's working with me personally around 7-8 years when I was there in Middle East too, and now still he works with our firm in Middle East as well as Asia. He has experienced many years in Asia too. So throughout his remarkable career, he has led the planning, designing, delivery of complex infrastructure, townships, commercial development, eco resorts, renewable energy. Means one of his flagship project right now in district cooling with ocean water is a game changer for many researchers. He himself, studied from MIT and Harvard Business School, specifically targeting such kind of infrastructure support. Now, beyond his professional achievement, Michael has spent decades mentoring masters and PhD students as well, and passionate advocate of building cities that are not only smarter. He's also working on data centers in Middle East, but healthier, more resilient, and future ready. Please join me in welcoming Engineer Michael Katz from ESGPro Master Institute. He's a co-founder. Michael, you can unmute yourself, and now your slides will be put on the screen. Our support team will be putting that. Michael, any words for our previous guest? And then we go ahead in your discussion as well as quickly as possible. We are running out of time anyway.
Yeah, mine is going to take a while. I'll try to be a little briefer. Great to see everybody. Thank you for joining us. I want to start with a brief description of
next slide
of what biophilic design is, and I want to explore how thoughtfully integrating nature into hospitals, workplaces, and classroom doesn't just look good, it delivers quantifiable improvements in patient recovery times, workplace productivity and creativity, and student academic performance. We're going to ground everything in peer-reviewed science, landmark studies, and real-world outcomes. By the end, I believe you'll see biophilic design is one of the highest leverage investments we can make in human health, performance, and even our ESG and climate goals. Let's start by understanding what biophilic design actually is and why our brains and bodies respond so powerfully to it. Sorry. We'll begin with a clear definition of biophilic design. This is where we start. And it's 6 core patterns from visual connections with nature to biomorphic forms and prospect refuge spaces. Then we'll unpack the two foundational theories, stress reduction theory and attention restoration theory. These explain the psychological and cognitive mechanisms at work. Next, we'll examine the hard evidence in three critical sectors: hospitals and patients, workplaces and productivity, classrooms and student performance. We'll synthesize the universal pathways that cut across all settings, discuss the compelling business and societal ROI, and explore how biophilic design strengthens ESG performance and contributes to carbon goals, particularly relevant in India and the Gulf region. Biophilic design is fundamentally about reconnecting people with nature inside the buildings where we spend 90% of our lives. Where are we? We're in the wrong slide. I'm sorry, everybody, but we seem to have lost the plot here. All right, we'll start here again. On slide 3, the term comes from E.O. Wilson's biophilia hypothesis in 1984, the idea that humans have an innate, genetically based need to affiliate with nature and other living systems. It goes far beyond adding a few potted plants or using green colors. True biophilic design incorporates multiple layers: visual connections with nature, natural materials and textures, natural light and air, plants and living systems, prospect and refuge, biomorphic forms and patterns. When we design in this way, we're not just being aesthetic, we're actively supporting psychological recovery and cognitive restoration, emotional well-being, and even immune function. Slide 4. The two theories provide the scientific backbone for why biophilic design works so consistently across contexts. First, stress reduction theory, developed by Roger Ulrich starting in the 1980s. His landmark works showed that exposure to unthreatening natural environments triggers rapid psychological recovery from stress. Nature activates the parasympathetic nervous system, our rest and digest mode, lowering cortisol, blood pressure, and heart rate while improving mood. Critically, even brief views of nature produce measurable recovery. Theory of Rachel, second, is the attention restoration theory by Rachel and Stephen Kaplan. Our directed attention, the focused, effortful concentration we use for work, studying, or complex tasks is a finite resource that fatigues over time. Nature provides soft fascination elements, like clouds moving, leaves rustling, water flowing, that capture our involuntary attention effortlessly. This allows our directed attention capacity to replenish without conscious effort. Together, these theories explain why patients heal faster, why knowledge workers are more creative and less burned out, and why students concentrate better and behave better in nature-rich environments. Slide 5. Now let's turn to perhaps the most dramatic evidence: hospitals and patient recovery. If biophilic design can accelerate healing and reduce suffering in the high-stakes environment of healthcare, it makes a powerful case for everywhere else. We'll look at the foundational Ulrich study, quantified mechanisms, and contemporary systematic reviews confirming broad benefits. Slide 6. This is a study that launched the evidence-based healthcare design movement. In 1984, Roger Ulrich published in Science a study of patients recovering from gallbladder surgery in a Pennsylvania hospital. He compared patients whose rooms had a view of trees versus those who had a view of a brick wall. The results were striking and have been replicated many times since. Patients with tree views had significantly shorter hospital stays. They required fewer doses of potent pain medication. They experienced lower rates of minor postoperative complications. Nurses documented better progress. Think about the implications. A simple view through a window, something many hospitals still don't prioritize, produced measurable clinical outcomes and, by extension, cost savings. This study shifted the conversation from nice to have to clinically relevant. Slide 7, please. Urlich's findings have been unpacked into clear mechanisms that explain how nature accelerates recovery. Stress reduction, pain management, sleep and circadian health, positive distraction, immune and inflammatory response, staff well-being. These pathways compound. Better sleep supports immune function. Lower stress supports pain management. Positive distraction supports emotional resilience. It's a virtuous cycle. Slide 8. The evidence hasn't stood still since 1984. And a 2024 systematic review in Frontiers in Built Environment confirmed that biophilic design in hospitals reduces hospital time, patient mortality rates, in some contexts, pain levels, and stress for healthcare providers. Multiple meta-analysis show consistent positive effects on anxiety reduction, perceived waiting times, which feel shorter in nature-rich environments, and overall patient satisfaction. The message is clear. Nature is not alternative medicine. It is an evidence-based medicine when integrated into the built environment. Slide 9, please. Now let's go to workplaces. Knowledge work dominates modern economies, and cognitive performance, creativity, and sustained attention are the new currencies. Biophilic offices deliver measurable gains here too, often with surprisingly high ROI, because the cost of even small productivity lifts or reduces absenteeism far exceeds the cost of plants, daylight optimization, or natural materials. Slide 10, please. Key data points from global studies, including from Human Spaces report, a 6% productivity increase in biophilic versus conventional offices. For a mid-sized company, that translates to enormous value. 15% higher creativity scores, 15% improvement in overall well-being and job satisfaction, better performance on memory, attention, and problem-solving tasks when plants are present. These aren't marginal gains. In competitive talent markets, especially post-pandemic when employees expect healthier workplaces, biophilic design becomes a strategic advantage. Importantly, these benefits appear across all office types, from open plan to private office, as long as biophilic elements are well designed and not just tokenistic. Slide 11, please. Why did these gains occur, and what's the business case? Reduced absenteeism, lower stress, and better air quality reduces 6 days by 10 to 15%. In well-designed green offices, higher engagement. Employees report stronger organizational commitment and discretionary effort when spaces feel restorative and inspiring. They want to show up and contribute. Cognitive restoration, nature exposure during the workday or via views restores directed attention, critical for error reduction, complex problem solving, and innovation. Talent attraction and retention. In a competitive market, biophilic workplaces are a differentiator, reducing turnover costs, often 50 to 200% of annual salary, delivers rapid payback, lower healthcare costs, reduce stress-related illness, translate to lower employer health plan costs and insurance premiums over time, sustainable performance. Unlike wellness programs that fade, well-designed biophilic spaces deliver compounding benefits year after year. The ROI is compelling even before we factor in ESG alignment and talent branding. Slide 12. Now to classrooms. where the stakes are highest because we're shaping the next generation. If biophilic design can accelerate learning rates by 20% or more, improve attention, reduce behavioral issues, and create more equitable outcomes, then every school design decision carry lifelong consequences. The evidence here is particularly strong on daylight and natural views. Slide 13. The landmark 1999 study by Hirschong Mahone Group examined over 21,000 students across 3 school districts in California. Their findings have been widely replicated. Students in classrooms with highest daylighting progressed 20% faster on math tests compared to those with lowest daylight. 26% faster progress on reading tests. Specific skylight designs provided diffuse daylight were associated with 19 to 20% faster learning rates. Significant positive correlation between window area, quality of views, especially trees and nature, and academic achievement across large samples. These are not small effects. A 20 to 26% faster learning rate means students cover more curriculum, achieve better mastery, and potentially reduce the need for remedial support. Subsequent research has confirmed the role of views in greenery in attention restoration for children, reducing stress and better self-regulation. Slide 14. How do biophilic elements support cognitive development and learning? Attention restoration. Window views of trees and greenery allow micro-restorative breaks during lessons. Even 30 to 60 seconds of soft fascination replenishes directed attention for the need-focused task. Circadian regulation. Abundant natural light entrains healthy sleep-wake cycles. Students are more alert during school hours and sleep better at night, foundational for memory consolidation and emotional regulation. Air quality and CO2. Plants and proper ventilation reduce CO2 buildup, and VOCs lower CO2. Levels are directly linked in multiple studies to better concentration and fast performance. High CO2 makes everyone drowsy and impairs decision-making. Reduce behavioral issues, calmer nervous systems from nature exposure, motivation and enjoyment, pleasant nature-rich spaces increase student engagement, attendance, and emotional connection to learning. School becomes a place students want to be. Equity and access. Students from all socioeconomic backgrounds benefit. Biophilic design can help close opportunity gaps exacerbated by poor environment conditions in under-resourced schools. The mechanism reinforces each other. Better attention supports learning, which builds confidence and motivation. Slide 15, please. We've seen powerful evidence in 3 very different settings, hospital, offices, and schools. The remarkable finding that same underlying mechanisms explain the benefits across all of them. This universality strengthens the case for treating biophilic design as essential infrastructure rather than sector-specific amenity. Slide 16. Let's quantify the case for investment. Healthcare savings, shorter stays and lower medication use. Even a 5 to 10% reduction in length of stay or complications delivers massive ROI given daily bed costs in modern hospitals. Workplace productivity, 6 to 15% gains are typical. For knowledge workers, even a sustained 5% productivity lift far exceeds the incremental cost of biophilic upgrades. Educational outcomes, 20% plus faster learning rates, higher test scores, better attendance, and reduced special education needs have lifelong economic and social value for individuals, families, and society. Talent and retention, biophilic workplace reduce turnover costs and attract mission-aligned talent. In tight labor markets, this is strategic. Resilience in ESG aligns with net zero wellness certifications like WELL and FitWell, and increasingly require occupant health mandates from investors and tenants. Social return. Benefits compound across families and communities. Healthier patients mean less caregiver burden. Better performing students means stronger future workforce. This is a high multiplier, public and private investment. Biophilic design pays for itself and then keeps paying dividends in human and financial capital. Slide 17. Beyond the direct performance benefits, biophilic design is emerging as strategic ESG and carbon infrastructure. It simultaneously advances environmental, social, and governance objectives, a rare triple win. Let's explore how. Slide 18. The environment. Carbon sequestration through plants, trees, and green infrastructure. Urban heat island mitigation and building energy savings. Biodiversity, net gain and habitat creation. Stormwater management and improved water quality. Better air quality and reduced VOCs from natural materials. Social. Occupant health and well-being, the core of this presentation. Mental health and stress reduction. Equity, democratizing access to nature for all building users. Community resilience and placemaking. Enhanced productivity and learning outcomes that triple reward. Governance, risk management and climate resilience. Compliance with emerging nature-related disclosures, TNFTD. Stakeholder engagement and reputation enhancement. Long-term asset value protection and future-proofing. Alignment with net zero and sustainability strategies. For organizations reporting on ESG or seeking green financing, biophilic design provides credible, measurable, and visible nature-positive action. Slide 19. Biophilic elements can function as credible carbon assets. Urban trees and green infrastructure, mature urban trees sequester 20 to 25 kilograms of CO2 per tree per year, plus major co-benefits in cooling, biodiversity, and stormwater. Green roofs and living walls, 0.5 to 2.5 kilograms of CO2 per meter squared per year per meter cubed per year through biomass accumulation plus avoided emissions from reduced cooling loads. High visibility interventions with strong ESG signaling value. Blue carbon, relevant for coastal Oman and GCC, as well as Indian coastal areas. Mangrove, seagrass, and salt marshes offer exceptional long-term carbon storage plus co-benefits for fisheries, storm protection, and water quality. Avoided emissions. Urban cooling from greenery reduces building energy demand for cooling, critical in hot climates. Stormwater retention reduces treatment energy. Biodiversity supports ecosystem services that have real economic value. When we integrate these into building projects, we're not just offsetting, we're creating regenerative assets that deliver multiple returns. Slide 20. Beyond carbon, the co-benefits are substantial and increasingly material to policy and finance. Biodiversity and ecosystem services. Biophilic design increases species richness, supports pollinators, creates urban habitat corridors. Measurable diversity, net gain is now required or rewarded in many planning frameworks. Urban cooling and energy resilience. Green infrastructure can reduce urban heat island effects by 2 to 5 degrees C locally and cut building cooling loads 10 to 30% in hot climates. Highly relevant for Oman and India. Stormwater and water security. Green roofs, rain gardens, and permeable landscapes retain 50 to 90% of rainfall in events, reducing flooding risk, treatment costs, and potable water demand, critical in water-scarce regions. Policy and disclosure alignment. Supports all Vision 2047 targets in India, Oman Vision 2040, in Oman, Net Zero 2050 targets. It aligns with TNFD, GRI, and TCFD nature-related financial disclosures, strengthens eligibility for green and sustainability-linked financing, demonstrates credible nature-positive action to investors, regulators, and communities. In India and the Gulf region, where climate resilience, water scarcity, water security, and economic diversification are strategic priorities, biophilic design is not peripheral. It is aligned with national visions. Slide 21. Theory and evidence are important, but implementation is where it matters. Here are actionable strategies by sector. For hospitals, prioritize patient room windows with nature views, integrate healing gardens, and accessible to patients, families, and staff. For workspaces, maximize daylight and operable windows, introduce living walls and abundant potted plants, create indoor nature break spaces. Use wood and stone finishes, design prospect refuge workstations. For schools, ensure every classroom has generous windows with tree and garden views. Incorporate classroom plants and green corners. Design outdoor learning spaces. Cross-cutting recommendations. Start with low-cost, high-impact interventions, plants, window views, daylight optimization. Use evidence-based frameworks like Terrapin, Bright Green's 14 patterns for biophilic design. Measure outcomes. Pre-post surveys, absenteeism, satisfaction, performance metrics. Engage occupants in the design process. Co-creation increases buy-in and reveals what people actually need. The key is intentionally token plants in a corner don't deliver the same benefits as integrated multi-sensory biophilic environments. 21, please. Sorry, 22. Let's bring it all together. Hospitals, nature views, and biophilic elements measurably shorten recovery times, reduce pain medication needs, lower stress, and improve outcomes for both patients and staff. Workplaces, biophilic offices deliver 6 to 15% productivity and creativity gains, better cognitive performance, reduced absenteeism, and higher employee well-being and retention. Classrooms, daylight, and nature connections accelerate learning rates by 20% in math and reading, improve retention and behavior, and create more equitable, engaging educational environments. Universal ROI. The same underlying mechanisms, stress recovery, attention restoration, circadian health, deliver compounding benefits across all sectors with strong economic and social return. Actionable now. Start with views, plants, daylight, and natural material.
There are some questions, Michael. But anyway, can you complete and then we will take the questions quickly.
Okay, I've only got 2 more slides. Sorry, everybody. But it's important.
Yeah, please.
Slide 23. For those who want to go deeper, here are the core references that you can explore. Additional supporting work by Nieuwenhuis et al. On green versus lean offices, Yin et al. On multisensory biophilic environments. I encourage you to explore these. The evidence base is strong and growing. Final slide 24. Biophilic design is one of the rare interventions that simultaneously improves human health, cognitive performance, learning outcomes, and environmental performance, including credible contributions to carbon sequestration and nature-positive ESG outcomes. The evidence is robust across hospitals, workplace, and classrooms, and now the broader sustainability agenda. The opportunity is to move from pilot projects to systemic integration.
Thank you.
Slide. Thank you, and
let me welcome some questions. Rajashree, first you can go. You have already raised hand. Of course, I have 3 questions from YouTube as well, which has been posted directly in our DM. We'll be asking that as well for all 3 speakers. Meanwhile, Rajashree, please go ahead and ask your question if you are still there.
Yeah, thanks. Okay. So what I wanted to ask is specifically on, I have also 3 questions from my end.
Oh,
so first thing that when you are talking about the green building, right? So currently, what is the cost benefit analysis which you do? Because see, from a practicality perspective, buildings are at the end of the day commodity. Are the green buildings costlier than the regular buildings? If so, do you see such demand only in higher class buildings? Let's say premium buildings like guys like TLFs of the world, they will be probably putting out these buildings, or mid scale buildings are also coming up with this projects. So this is first thing. Secondly, I want to you can start new buildings, that is fine. So that is a flow number, right? But there is a stock number that is existing buildings. So is there a method that the older buildings can be retrofitted so that they can reduce the carbon footprint? And is the only option the greening of grid? Because greening of grid will lead to lesser emission. So that is that the only option which is left for older buildings also?
Okay, let me start with your first question about, I think, on buildings, if it costs more and these issues. I want to make something clear that and Viveck said my 35 years. Actually, I'm a practicing professional engineer for 50 years now, as of this year. And you know, one thing that I have noticed in design, people do not focus. Owners are not being led properly by my profession and others into the design process that starts with how you position a building on a plot, and then what you use to actually build it, from the structure to how it's positioned on the site, but the structure itself, concrete block, poured in place concrete. Now we have many others which we've been using for many years, is light gauge steel construction or steel construction. How do we put these different elements together into a more sustainable building? And again, it's not just part of the of its component parts and how they are carbon emission or what their footprint is. It's also how it's put together. And if we look at biophilic design, of what I've been speaking about is when we design spaces for living, if we incorporate views and we incorporate landscapes within these buildings. Now, these are important aspects because we found that at the end of the day, we build buildings for humans and we interact with those buildings. From the moment we step in them, we get a sense of feeling. And whether it's just stark, bare walls or whether there's something in it that is living. So if we look at all types of buildings, whether it's residential, whether it's a school or an office, we have to now look at how we position it, where it's positioned, and how we use biophilic elements to shade the building, how we use window placements. All of these factor in. And the thing is as well, when we look at how we insulate the building, which also in our world is an extremely important aspect that is sometimes left out, but also it contributes to the cost, not only of operating the building, because it costs forever. Because if it's not well insulated, you're going to lose your cooling, you're going to lose everything. But all of these aspects now, how we can, and I've seen several buildings actually. What you brought up about existing buildings or old buildings, how do we convert them? I've seen buildings actually more in North America and Europe, where they've taken very old buildings and they've opened up. They've had small windows, so they opened up the windows. They planted big trees on different, like east facing. They have incorporated planting within the building spaces. They've taken bare concrete walls and put wood instead and faced them with wood and other natural elements. All of these contribute to our tactile sense as human beings. We actually we feel these in our daily lives. So these are elements that even you can transform an existing building, but it takes some effort. And if you look at the cost value, I believe that there's a much bigger ROI on the building from an owner's standpoint if he has a building that is cheaper to cool and also contributes, people will respond more to it. They'll want to, the tenants are much happier. They will stay longer. there's all sorts of influences that affect this. I hope I answered your question.
Yeah, thanks. I also wanted to understand from the market perspective, from an Indian market perspective, what is happening currently, what is the demand, what kind of projects are coming, like you said, but since it is a newer concept in India, is it just taken up by only the premium real estate guys, or has it also come down to the mid sector?
Vinay,
Actually, that's the problem, because, unfortunately, in the lower sectors, they don't get the top frame architects, the people that are really at the forefront of biophilic design or any kind of less carbon design input. It takes more thought. It takes more. So it's not. But if you look in other parts of the world, they have incorporated many of these concepts in low-cost housing, and actually have reduced cost by using even going to other areas where they're using recycled reinforcing concrete, recycled concrete itself. There's lots of examples. I think India will come around. I think people, I think it'll go there.
Adding to the question, sir, so like which country is leading, sir, in the biophilic design? Like what you explained is so genuine and true, like the impact of biophilic design on the humans and also environment. So can you name which of the countries leading comparatively in your experience, like which is leading, and also can you explain the forecast over the 10 years comparatively other foreign countries and to the India where is currently India standing?
Thank you very much, Nikhil. Such a nice question. Let me take that question to Jagannathan ji. Jagannathan ji, based on your experience, Michael has already given his experience here. So can you let us know that what do you think about that question?
Yeah, thanks for that. I'll give a general reply. In fact, I'll touch on to the first question also about the existing buildings as the cost benefit analysis. I'll go beyond biophilic to the overall green building concepts, which include biophilic as well. And basically the sustainability of green building is bringing proper engineering back to the drawing board, which we missed out over a period of time. So it is not necessary that only the high-end buildings or the DLFs of this have to follow green building, and it is not fair to assume that a green building is only those buildings that are certified. A building which has got the best engineering without certification will also technically qualify as a green building. Absolutely. So any building can be made green. Probably the impacts of green building, the benefits of green building are much larger in a large building because their energy resource, the demand is much high. So that is a basic principle. And even in India, if you say the energy conservation code and then the basic building codes, they are also slowly increasing. So the demand of all the built environment, the government has a role to reduce emissions from the buildings, and obviously they are trying to put in the code so that the business as usual, the code compliant building itself becomes stronger. And beyond that, whatever you do to achieve greater efficiency is basically to your initiative. And your party right that the big developers would have the greater leverage to invest more and adopt greater technologies. Coming to the existing building has much more benefit or immediate returns than the new buildings, because you have the historical record of what the old building has been consuming over a period of time. And then you go for the low hanging fruit, which is probably a light lamp refitting or making the buildings more tighter, and then putting water savers, and then having a waste management technology and things like that, and even putting the cool room paint in order to reduce the emissions, reduce the energy gain into the building. And there are some strategies which are not low hanging fruit, which require some investment. By that you directly hit the econ sector, where you find probably complete retrofitting of the heavy duty equipment, which will bring down this energy and directly reflect on the bottom line.
Great.
And third question, in terms of countries which are following, I think that is a bit.
Which country is leading?
See, I would not say biophilic, but if you say general green buildings, it is my opinion that Europe and Asia are if there are different parameters. If you take a lead building, if your parameter is lead, then I would say India has the largest lead buildings, probably next to states in the world. China has the largest. But then the concept of principles of green building, the concept awareness of green buildings have improved a lot. But which countries are actually doing to reduce emissions? I think that's a bigger question that now comes down to. And in my opinion, Asia and Europe are taking emission reductions seriously, despite their limitations. For example, several parts of Asia, including China and India, are still relying heavily on fossil energy for their energy demands, for the power supply, so. Notwithstanding that, on the demand side, they are doing a lot to reduce the emissions, and built environment is also part of that. So seriousness and awareness appear to be stronger in Europe and Asia, in my humble opinion. But probably I may not be 100% right, but it's only pure based on the limited understanding of the market.
Michael, quick answer to that. Which country is leading here?
Well, am I me? Oh, I think Europe is doing its best, but the U.S. and Canada, I think, are in actual buildings that are being built in a sustainable way and following standards. I think the U.S. and Canada are actually the top countries when it comes to buildings. They are taking everything. I have to tell you very quick, they've been doing it a long time as well. I'm from Vancouver, Canada, and you imagine Simon Fraser University, which was near my house, was built, the concrete, 60% of the concrete for that university was recycled from the streets, the sidewalks of Vancouver City when they were widening all of the roads. They recycled that concrete. That was 1964. So, it's not a new, and all of this is not a new concept. I graduated in 1975 in civil environmental engineering, and I've been banging this drum ever since. And there hasn't been, it's more of the adoption, not of new technologies. There's been technologies around for a long time, but we're just taking a long time to adopt them.
Okay, and I'm coming to...
How about in Oman and UAE region? Express, Michael?
No, there's some efforts, but here, everything is about cost. And since they won't pay for a decent architect, then they'll just pay some draftsman to do buildings. So the buildings get built, basically they're all copycats. The tragedy here, more, if you look at a school that's built here, I sent a picture once to my architect friend in Germany. I said, "What building do you think this is?" He said, "Oh, it's obviously a prison because they have small windows and bars on the windows for a school." So I think we're falling far behind. We need a whole new approach. We started in Bahrain in the 80s, but it's taking a long time to get people over this.
Perfect. That's a great question there, Nikhil. Thank you very much. Let me go to Vinay with the same question. What do you think about India? Where are we in this process of greening the building, and how is the market looks like now in India, according to you?
Yeah, I think I pretty much agree with what all Jagannathan and Michael mentioned. But when it comes to the cost factor, right? 2 decades back, yes, building a green building was costly affair because the market was not prepared. The materials, the sustainable products were not that prevalent in India, and now the market has matured enough we have very advanced sustainable materials that are available, low carbon materials, and with all the technical capabilities that any other material could give. So we have all the materials that are available in the Indian market, and uh, building a sustainable project is very much equivalent to a conventional one. Uh, However, when we are investing the additional resources such as on-site renewables and then clean energy, when we are tapping into a clean energy, because our grid is predominantly a coal dominated grid, but then for us to tap into a clean energy, we need to have a separate, we need to look at a separate investments as such, because our grid is not clean energy prepared to that extent. So there requires certain amount of investment, and but however, once you sort of integrate all these strategies into your project, I think by the end of the first decade, I think you could see a significant ROI on on your capex, right? Because all these investments will reap fruit during your OPEX, and the burden on the OPEX will eventually fall down. That will give you a good numbers, wherein which you feel that, oh, my building is now reaping the benefits of what I have designed as a green building. So that's already been seen, because we have a couple of iconic buildings in and around India. To point them few, we have Infosys campuses, which has a great, which makes a great case studies, and then we have other Microsoft and then other buildings also. The local players like My Home, Satwa, most of these also have green buildings and sustainable projects which has good numbers with them, which shows that the green buildings can reap you a good benefits in terms of cost. And coming to the following question that you asked on refurbishing the buildings, right? So I think that's a really nice question, I would say, because we already have all 60%, 40 to 50% of the existing building stock in India, right? Now, what do we do with it? And most of the buildings have already given their best. We have 50 years, 60 years old buildings, but now building a new is definitely a carbon intensive, and then money intensive, right? So if we refurbish the old buildings, I think that is something which we could do a great help to the society and to the economy, because building new will obviously attract a lot of resources, a lot of environmental impact. However, refurbishing the existing building stock also supports the economy, and at the same time reduces the carbon emissions and then environmental impacts, because when you're prolonging the structure life, that means you are mitigating the newer environmental impacts that you are going to create with the new constructions, right? So that's how you're offsetting the global gas emissions. So
Means
going for the refurbishing is definitely a way to go.
Means like most are looking like concerning about the cost instead of like long term benefits, the real estate or like currently India, like they're instead of looking long term, are they considering most on the, like, is it like expensive?
Yeah, see, every investment will definitely look at numbers, right? So when you want a building to be constructed, the first thing you would ask is how much money it takes to construct a building, isn't it? If he is offering for, say, 1 lakh, you would go with the 1 lakh. If he is offering for 1.5 lakhs, you ask a lot of questions. Why is it taking 1.5 lakhs? What will I get? Isn't it? So this is the mindset everyone will have, and there's nothing wrong in it. But then again, I think Michael was mentioning in his previous discussions that as a stakeholder, as an engineer, it is on you that you bring that worthy points to the client, that your design, if it is designed in such a way, would reap you the benefits of in terms of cost, in terms of resilience and everything. So it is of us that you convince the client, you explain him what is the extra amount that you are putting in your project will eventually end up like, and eventually give you benefits like. So I think this hassle, and then this hassle will always be there in the market. There's nothing wrong in it, but then as a frontiers, we have to lead the narrative, and then we have to lead the thought process that shifting from the green projects or green compliant projects to a sustainable core delivery projects is something which we have to do, even though the money goes in as a high as a capex, but then ultimately you are going to get the ROI at the end of the day. So that is something for us. Yeah.
Thank you, Vinay, for guiding on that. But just to leave you with a thought process, Nikhil, initial construction cost is slightly higher. That's what all the speakers said. But that doesn't.
I didn't say that.
Yeah.
I didn't say that.
Yeah, you didn't say that. Yes.
It can actually cost you less with the right engineers.
Absolutely. That is what I'm coming to. That actually, if you look in perspective, today, the way construction material cost, including energy cost, is going down, specifically with solar, you will see these numbers are quite encouraging in coming times. And hence, the people who are serious are not deciding based on long-term versus immediate-term expenditure. They are deciding on what makes sense to us in medium term. So there is a game between long-term and near-term, a medium-term, which will always justify these. And here are the reason. Customer wants lower utility bill. So the tenants who are coming, they are deciding that. Investor prefers sustainable asset. 35% of asset under management today is under green label. Banks are offering green finance. They have a specific product and they are forced to launch those products. Understand that, under compliance requirements. And governments are encouraging, like you heard from Michael, the low carbon houses, even the the houses which are cheaper made or made for lowest, not premium project I'm talking about. I'm talking about all other non-premium projects also. Internationally, it is happening. And even in India, slowly we are picking up on it. Many of those low-cost housing are getting built based on these kind of, right now hybrid, not completely sustainable building, green building, but going forward that will happen. Having said that, yes, Michael, you have a concluding remark, quick one.
Yeah, I just wanted to say one of the mitigating factors in all of this is the actual design team that designed buildings. This is the factor that's most important. And one thing that I would comment about materials, for instance, in what was mentioned in India, utilizing materials or resources that are near where you're actually building the building. These are very important aspects in the design process, but having architects with the mindset, not of making. See, the problem in the Middle East is architects are making their fees are a percentage of the cost of the project. So the higher cost of the project, the higher their fees. This is the wrong way to go about it. And I think the most compelling factor in everything is having professional teams of architects and engineers working together to meet those demands. They will make the building cost less, definitely, than another architect who doesn't have those aspirations and or the focus.
Awesome. Thank you. Let me do the concluding remark if we support team can show the screen. As we close, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. As we close the dialogue today, I would like to leave you with one powerful thought. And the thought is, future is not something we inherited in past. It is something we design. Today, we have learned green building is no longer about compliances, cost benefit, that friction, which many people have asked you, and they are about competitiveness, resilience, and creating lasting values. They reduce carbon footprint, conserve water, improve well-being, shape communities of tomorrow. And hence, India is at defining moment between now and 2047. We have to make those decisions, including you and us. We are going to build millions of homes, offices, and millions of square meter of leasing spaces in India, including data center, which is happening right now, along with infrastructure. The question is not whether India will build. The real question is, what kind of India are we building? Yeah. As Buckminster Fuller once said, and I quote him, we are called to be architects. I'm a civil engineer. Many of you come from the similar background of the future, not the victim. That's what we want to be. End of the day, you are not just constructing building. Imagine you are shaping the India future. My sincere thanks to our distinguished speaker, Engineer Michael A. Katz, Dr. P.R. Jagannathan, and Mr. Vinay Mandaloju. Now, for sharing their invaluable global insights, as well as responding to each and every one of your questions. And thank you, everyone who joined us today across India and around the world. This is just beginning. Join us again on FutureScape Dialogue on 27th of this month. And we will be, discussing about textile industry, where we will continue exploring about idea which shape the Viksit Bharat 2047. Thank you. And see you again. Have a wonderful evening. And together, let's build India for 2047. Bye-bye.
Thanks to you, Vivek, and all the speakers and the attendees as well. Have a good day.
Thank you, Viveck. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.
Thanks.